morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Here is Viola Edward, your host of the Feminine Capital Rhythm Show, a show that is created in Radio Works World, that lovely, lovely radio show that was created by Marina Nani some time ago. And now many of us in the whole world, we can share with you and interview friends and interview people. And today I have the privilege, the honor, the celebration to interview my dear, dear friend. She's my little sister. I have adopted her some time ago. We will ask her how much she wants an older sister because she already has one. But anyway, and is somebody that, is like with my sister Layla. It's wonderful when you love the person and you admire them and you enjoy working with them. And now I'm going to have wet eyes, so be careful because I get all emotional. But this is what I feel for Hellenique. So today I'm interviewing my dear, dear darling Hellenique Argiru. Welcome to this show, Hellenique.
Thank you so much, Viola. That was very special. I also have a memory of meeting you the first time and feeling very connected to you without even knowing you. And it's now 12 years almost later, and I still remember that moment, and I connect with the intensity and the beauty and the diversity of these 12 years and how I've gotten to know you and all the things that we've done together, and that there's like a burning passion in a way that I think we both really resonate with, and we just understand that about each other. And I think that's a very special thing. So I'm very moved that you're so moved, and I'm also very moved by how we connect ourselves together and how we take care of each other in the ways that we do. It's very special.
Yeah, it's very beautiful, very beautiful. It's like, I feel like love has no frontier, and I love it, and I think it's so wonderful that we can express our love, and it can be received or not, because sometimes I go so intense that maybe some other people could not go there, but I feel so happy to have learned from my mother, I think, how to ask for what I want and how to express what I feel. So Hellenique, welcome to this program. I want to interview you for many reasons. One of them is to tell us what you've been doing, what you are doing, and your expansion. Not only Hellenique is from South Africa, Cypriot parent, and she's been in Cyprus more or less the time I've been here. But now she's also opening her wings and working in other countries. So we want to talk about that. And of course, we want to talk about your speech in the Feminine Capital Forum that is happening very, very soon now. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know it, but I want everybody to hear about it.
Sure. Well, it's really an honor to be invited to share anything about me and my journey with you and with women around the world that are doing such great work now. I think what we shared in the beginning of this is so moving and meaningful for me, because I think this is exactly what feminine capital really is, the capacity that we have as women to connect in a very deep way with each other, and to do it in quite a unique way, I think different to the way men do it, and also to be able to honor and celebrate that and not have to compare it, just to be able to use this feminine capacity that we have as a kind of resource. So for me, a lot of my life has been about noticing that in the world and wanting to redistribute some balance in what I felt was a lot of imbalances in the world around femininity and around sensitivity and creativity, which actually are all, as I recently find out, aspects of the right side of the brain. And it seems to be that side of the brain is quite underdeveloped in most of us, or at least it's out of balance with the rest of us or with our environment, that we seem to have put a lot more energy into developing analytical, logical skills. And so for me, it was always quite interesting to go deeper into life. I'm actually born in Zimbabwe. So at a very young age, I became a traveler. I just wrote a newsletter now for everybody on my list called Tell Your Mama You're a Traveler, because I realized this is a song that we heard very recently on the radios that was talking about that a lot of people have become connected to the journey as a way of understanding life. And I think from a very young age, I moved from country to country, as I know you did, Viola. So that's why we connect on that too. And it brings a kind of diversity into life, and it definitely did for me. But I think it also made me question a lot about where do I come from? Where do I belong? Who am I? Why are certain things important to the people around me, and how are they important to me? And so at a young age, I was always questioning life, and I had a very, I think, specific connection with my own soul. I remember at a very young age of 6, I was walking down the stairs and I had this profound moment where I realized I was the only person who lives inside of my skin. And my psychotherapist thought this was really amazing that I had this, and he wanted to pathologize it, of course, and look at whether I felt really lonely and whether I felt disconnected. And I think a lot of that was present for me because I was just very aware at a young age of how unique and intimate my life was for me, and that it was important for me to make my life meaningful and for it to be extraordinary and for me to have experiences that I really wanted to have. I realized something very sacred and very important about life, and then I needed to really eat it, dance it, and really enjoy it. And that really was supported by my parents in many ways. They gave me lots of help. I'm going to turn that off. Sorry for the interruption. So all the years, it was for me very clear that I needed to invest. So I decided to go deeper and study psychology, and I did that because I learned a lot from my art class about the deeper side of life, the symbolism of life, and that really spoke to me. I understood that the surrealists, when I was learning about this art movement, and Frida Kahlo, and people who were painting the unconscious, that there was something about that was very connected to what my mission and my divine purpose was. So I followed that, and I studied, and I was very fortunate to have parents who could support that. So I spent a lot of time researching other forms of psychology, other ways of doing the work, because then after I left Zimbabwe, I grew up in South Africa. I didn't stay in Zimbabwe very long, and I was an immigrant daughter's I was the daughter of immigrants who'd left from Cyprus, so always there was these two places I belonged to, and I needed to understand them, and I was alive and kicking through the whole abolishment of apartheid in South Africa, which exposed me to really profound levels of awareness of others and how others are betrayed by a system, or how there's lots of injustice in the world and how people struggle for their freedom and their rights. And so there was a lot of things I learned from that, and obviously being a psychologist during that time made me realize that what people really need is not always available when you are a psychologist or from the psychologist, because they actually need certain services that they might not be able to pay for, or they might not be able to go away from work.
I want to interrupt you here. Were you psychologist before ballerina, or you were ballerina before psychologist, or it was at the same time?
I was ballerina before, but I didn't get as far as ballerina. I wanted to, but it didn't go that far. But I stayed with jazz and contemporary dance and tap and Spanish dancing for a very long time. And I danced in total to 17 years, but it was a very strong hobby that my mother also really supported me to do, because there was something about being on a stage and expressing myself to the music. The beat in the music was a place where I connected with, I think, the pulse of all of life. It was very, very special for me that I could dance. And
where did drumming come in?
That's why that part, yeah, only much later. When I was a psychologist and I saw people couldn't really use the services as you would from a formal psychologist in South Africa at the time, I got very disillusioned by psychology, and I stopped working for a year. The place where I was working was also closing down, and I started doing what I loved and decided I needed to get back in contact with why I studied to be a psychologist. And at the time, I had just by accident picked up a drum in the desert when I went camping with some friends. And something very profound happened to me there. I was playing in the middle of the desert, and I could see 100 meters away from me, other people were getting very annoyed and looking back at me. And that's when I realized the drumming is like a communication between me and them. And I don't even know who they are. They were part of the group, but I hadn't met them. And every time I was getting the rhythm good, they were starting to dance, and I could see them from far away. And I remember thinking, wow, there's something really amazing about how we can connect with sound. And I went back, I studied drumming. I was on this year of just living off my savings and deciding what to do next. I wanted to really feel the truth of being a psychologist and work with it in honesty if it was the profession I was going to follow. So I was trying to discover really what it was. And I found that it was my inspiration for life, and that's what I wanted to do, was to inspire people. So I looked for the thing that inspired me the most, and it was this new hobby that I'd had, which was going down to this place called the Drum Cafe and playing on the drums. And I remember once seeing a man from Senegal come from West Africa, and he played and soloed, improvised, in other words, into the rhythm. And I've never, ever in my life, after all the years of dancing, seen that amount of joy and that amount of inspiration in another human being. And that was the moment where I really knew that I wanted to learn to do that, and I wanted to share that with other people. And I eventually discovered that I had what it takes to teach people how to allow themselves to do that for themselves, to feel very connected and very inspired by expressing themselves in their unique voice, to be allowed to share out into the world. So now I combine the two, and I study a lot of neuropsychology recently to try and understand the deeper pathways that drumming and rhythm are actually able to affect and adjust inside of us. And I was very surprised to discover an enormous amount of profound meaning when we are deeply connected to this pulse that we have, like we understand life in a very special way. And so drummers actually call that rhythmic wisdom. And my passion, my mission is to share rhythmic wisdom with everyone in the world that would like to know about it. So that's what I do.
Share with us this rhythmic wisdom with the feminine capital. It's like the feminine rhythm and the wisdom of that rhythm. Now, Hellenic, I've been one of your students, not a very good one, but I'll tell you about that later. But I've been many times in Hellenic circle of drumming. My husband is a djembe drummer, and you and Guillermo, who is another djembe drummer. I have to tell you about Guillermo. He has amazing groups in the darkness. He has like a studio, and he does this group in the darkness, and just with, I'm so much looking, you and Guillermo meet each other. I'm sure you're gonna create something together very nice. So in Saturday, 27th of May, we're gonna have some drumming for you between Hellenic, Michael, and Guillermo. So I've been in your circle. I know the power of that, and also I have to say that I have sent you some clients, because you know what I call about holistic psychotherapy is that, you know, when your time is ending with a client, even when the client still needs some support. So as a holistic psychotherapist, you know, when this client of yours or patient need to pass to some other care or some other attention. And I have shared, or I have shared some client with you, and I could see the development of a work that I have done with them, and then they pass to do drumming with you and to express themselves. You know, I remember now one of my client men that I love dearly, and how he came out, because with the work we did together, he managed to understand the root of his shyness and the root of his trouble. And then we started the next stage. And then one day I have that bright idea, oh, let's do the next stage with Hellenic. And then he passed to work with you, and it was quick, dynamic, beautiful. Plus, he had a skill, which is he's a drummer today. So, what I want to say is I have seen the beauty of that. And also, I want to tell you that my name is Viola because my dad was a drummer, but drummer set.
Yeah, I remember you told me that the first time we met. So sweet.
So I'm the first child, and he wanted so much to connect me with the music. And I'm very happy for that because he passed away at very early age, and this is what I keep. So I still have the hope that I'm going to be in your circles and learn how to drum much better.
I think you've been a great person to work with because you got so positively connected to it, and you were so respectful about what it could do, and still tried it out yourself. And it was clear to me that it meant something, the musical connection. So maybe your dad did actually bless you with music there somewhere.
Yes, maybe what I can tell you about that for moms or for children who are not exposed to do sport or to do music is how, for example, I know I'm very clever, and I know, honestly, I'm not sharing this because I have low self-esteem, but I know how much I lack of coordination because I was one of those kids that always escaped from sport, and I was only a book girl. And I could see when I was in the drumming how much my coordination was, I was lacking of coordination. But it's a good way, even for people like me who's lacking physical coordination, how good it was for me to do that. So, passing the subject, tell us about what you're doing in Europe. Tell us about your expansion and
This has
not
been
only Europe.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting time because, like you say, and like you shared some examples there, there've been a good 22 years now that I've been practicing as a clinical psychologist, and I just recently ended that as a formal practice and started looking to work with people that want to do very specific development, either for their jobs, or to actually invent a new career, or to run a very special project, or to actually just go to a next level in their life that they know they can't reach without some very specific coaching and training. And because I've been working for a long time with people, I can see how powerful the drum is as a tool. And it doesn't have to be used, but if a person likes the idea of using it, or if they're open to it, that instrument is an incredible way to access your power. And there are two different instruments that I've learned to use in the last while. The one is the African djembe drum, which is the one I connect to the power, the sense of owning your power. And what that means is being able to integrate yourself. Like I think you were explaining, Viola, it's hard to do for some of us more than others. But for everyone, I think there's a very big area of synchronization and integration that we don't really learn much about in our education. And as an adult, it's what I would call a bit of a higher skill. It's an ability to really run more efficiently in your body and in your mind and in your energy body and your soul, really, to be all connected and to be able to have a very specific contact with life. And to know that you're unique and to be able to put that power out into the world and be successful with it, that's what I call owning your power. And writing a book at the moment called To the Beat of Your Own Drum.
Well done.
Is about that. Yeah, it's what that really means after 22 years of experimenting and exploring that with people. And on the path, I also learned to play the ancient drum, which is called the frame drum. And there is a tradition of this here in Cyprus, which has been, I would say, hidden or stopped maybe, because in ancient times, the biggest circle of frame drummers existed here in Cyprus, where we're having the Feminine Capital event. And it was discovered in a book by one of my teachers called When the Drummers Were Women, that these drummers were actually women who were priestesses, or they were in training to be priestesses, and they worked in a very strong sense of sisterhood amongst them. They lived in communities where they practiced various kinds of self-development arts, and We're not sure the details because a lot of this was shut down when the Judeo-Christian calendar came into being, and women were no longer allowed to play their drums. So they were really cut away from that lineage, which was all about emulating the creative transformation that is happening through nature and through the menstrual cycle. And so the drum was a symbol of that. And it was actually at full moon and then at no moon that they would have significant rituals related to rhythm, because rhythm was the pulse of life. And so when we go really deep into those teachings, we see that really the very first proper instrument that human beings played was the clave. It's like two sticks hitting together. But very soon after that came the drum. And the drum has a vibration and it has a pulse, and this is very similar to what we experience in the womb. So when human beings began to play this drum, they were still connected to nature, and so this pulse was very important, and it actually reminded them, and I would say energetically strengthened even what we call the unified field around them. You know, the whole grid around us is constantly affecting us and us it, through the vibrational communication that we have all the time with it. So all these subtle, invisible layers of who we are and how we affect each other is out there. So psychologists have studied that, and some spiritual teachers go deep into this. And so we see that sound is a way of interacting with that grid. And so in ancient times, people did that. And the women were actually doing it to keep the rhythmic integration, I would say, and the ethic of the integration very strong and very clear. And so when that stopped, something significant happened. Obviously, we got disconnected from nature, but I think we also stopped being able to be easily connected to our own inner wisdom and our own inner intuition and power, which does have a lot to do with our emotional intelligence and our creative, non-visible skill set, which comes from the right side of the brain. Now, of course, it's not that simple. We do work the right side with the left and the left with the right, but really the way we've evolved as human beings is that we don't really use them in a synchronized way. We are more dominant on one side, and really we found that in the world we are more left brain dominant, which is more right hand focused. Even though some people write with the left, they might still live in a world where they are not connected and synchronized and mirrored in that, and not supported in that throughout their lives. So it means then that all of us as human beings, we are sitting a little bit unbalanced and one-sided, lopsided. And I think it's really the reason why we need to do conferences like the Feminine Capital Forum, like all these other women movements around the world that are starting up now. We've realized that just working with the skills that we have till now are not getting us very far, and we need more. And so there's a lot of focus now on emotional intelligence. There's lots of people looking at ways to integrate the brain, holistic brain functioning, holistic psychotherapy, like you mentioned, Viola, are all very important to get us to a more integrative state. Yeah. Because only then can we think and feel to make a decision. We can't just think to make a decision. We have to feel as well the impact of that decision on ourselves and on the greater good of all. Yeah. So I teach that now. I'm teaching that, and I'm teaching the importance of getting connected to the feminine principle. Even if you're a man or if you're a woman, we all have this yin energy in us, the animus, Jung called it, and it's so important for us to begin to honor it again. And that means we need to bring the legacy from the past back into focus. We have to talk about what was possible before. We have to talk about how it could be possible again. And then we have to look at what is the gap. How are we stuck with what we got through our education, and what is the part we need to do now to link us and close the gap, to begin to make new decisions and to have an impact on the world in a much more positive way, where we can again be in harmony with all of nature and make a real change in the world for us to be able to be less self-destructive and to be much healthier and to actually radiate in ways that we are actually meant to, because right now we're not really managing so well. I think lots of people are struggling.
Yes, yes. The what you're talking about is what I call the intrapersonal communication is one of the most important. I see it very clearly when because I specialize with couples, and how much the big drama of relationship is our communication. But I can see it very clearly that the communication with the self is not happening smoothly, because our right brain and left brain, the communication between them is not smoothly. Therefore, when the intra-communication is not happening, intrapersonal communication is not happening. So the interpersonal communication is very difficult to happen. For that, what you're talking about, I can relate to it very well. How to be aligned, and how is it that well-being is when we're aligned between what we want, what we dream, what we feel, what we talk, what we want, and what we model, what we act. And many times we can see that is absolutely exactly, and that creates a lot of pain in the self. And then it's this self who's going to relate with another self that also is in a similar situation, and then we get so hurt by them. But actually, this is why it is so beautiful and so important that going into all this mentoring and coaching and psychotherapy depend of what we need. And I just love that message. I was in London last year when I heard the message from Chelsea Baker, which was saying that for 2030, we want everybody, every individual to have a mentor or a coach, because I relate totally with that. Because sometimes we can be very, very wise ourselves, but when we are in the subject of pain, we cannot look at ourselves in the same way how we look at other, and then we need the external help. And this is the principle of consultation, that we know we're wise, but we know when is it that I need to go to external coaching, to external support. And part of the vision of Feminine Capital Forum, and why we want to take this forum to many, many cities and many countries in the world. And also I participate in many conferences and forums in different areas, is that to encourage more and more people to meet you, Hellenic, and to meet many of our colleagues, and to come and do deeper work with you, with me, with other people. Because when you are in a forum, for example, and you have 24 people or you have 10 people, and you can relate, because all of us, we are inspired by what we're doing, but there is one of us that's going to inspire you, that their message in this moment of their life and this moment of your life connect. And then you have the chance and you have the choice to come and talk with them. So the idea of the forum is an intensive day. We're going to have different breaks, and break for lunch, of course, and break. And the speakers will have time, and you will have time to talk with them and to relate to them. And hopefully you can organize to work deeper with them. So this is the one of the vision. And how is men and women in this forum, as you talk, is not only about women. When we talk about feminine energy, actually Guillermo is going to talk about us, about him, how is it to be a feminist, because he considers himself a feminist, and how is the feminine energy work in the man. And then we have this lovely forum with 6 men talking about why women should be and could be, and they are helping women to be empowered, to be at the same level in all areas of life. So we're hoping to have a lot of fun, a lot of exchange, and for speakers and for participants. Tell me, Hellenic, what is your message for everybody today?
I just want to thank you, first of all, for doing this event and for including men. I think it's really important that men are there, and I'm sorry. For me, the message is life can be really extraordinary, and it can only become extraordinary when we actualize our fullest potential. So to actualize means we do go on a journey if we choose to. We don't have to do this, but I agree so much with the need for more of us to really do deeper work, because the world really now needs pioneering leadership. We need contact with the implications of decisions. We need an ethical and integral path forward in the way that we live and the way that we share our life on this planet. And we need visionaries who can do that. So if you think you're one of those people that can lead the way for others, I would love to work with you. And my message is that it's absolutely possible for us to turn this around. There are enough of us, and we are building a new tribe. And I would love to be with you in that tribe. And I would love to support you with all that I've learned along the way. And to continue to be supported by all the others that are in the same tribe with us all.
Beautiful. And tell me, from all the countries in Europe, where are you spending more time?
I'm moving a lot at the moment to Holland, and I'll be linking some of my projects into Brussels as well. I'll be teaching on the 1st of July, very special, like the peak of my work right now is something called Dream Self Drum Shaman, which is about being able to become your own shaman, your own healer, and your own visionary. And to do that, we're going to very deep drumming work that I've studied for 18 years and practiced and developed really a method. So I'll be teaching this method, and it goes into deep visioning, visualization work on the 1st and 2nd of July. And then soon after, we'll be doing some work with the womb for women called Feminine Mystery. And I'll be teaching with some yoga teachers, more sacred sound. And in Holland, I'm doing a few projects, collaborations, and I'm always open to some new ideas. So if you do have something that you'd like to ask me about, or you want some information, or you want to suggest something, go ahead. I'm open.
Yeah. Do we know why you're spending a lot of time in Holland?
I have found love. And love found me, actually. It was very special. It's one of the courses I teach now, Higher Love for single women. If you are struggling with any of that, there's some very special things which tie into all of this that we've been saying, divine femininity and how to move out of being an alpha female, how to really draw love to yourself. So that happened for me as well, and I'm very, very grateful, very blessed.
And we are sending a lot of energy and good wishes. So Hellenic love will be with us, and we can host them and enjoy them. And he's a very lovely man, and I have met him because and catch a little bit of his care when I have that accident in Holland. So do your best to be here and give me the chance to return to you some of that care. So Hellenic, so thank you very, very much for your time and for sharing with us from heart, and for being with me in this first Feminine Capital Forum. I hope you and me, we're going to be around the world doing a lot of things together. And I know you're a shining star wherever you go, and you spread your love and your wisdom and sharing. And you know, there is something very beautiful about Hellenic. It is a feeling of sisterhood and a feeling of sharing and connecting, which is very, very important in the feminine capital, because we know, you and me, we know that we can't do it alone. And also we know that there is plenty for everybody, and each one of us attract a special type of people, and then we come together and we make the group bigger, but we don't have to be all the time together. We join sometimes, and we have these beautiful alliance, what I call alliance, that we come together sometime, and then we open our wings and we hold hand and we dance together and we create rhythm together. And then from that, other thing develop. I'll tell you something. In 2013, Hellenic invited me to do a circle of breathing in Limassol. And, you know, I'm one of these international trainers who've been here for many, many years. And for one reason or another, the group breathing, it was not coming together. So Hellenic was this force that made it happen. And she connected me with Petru at Vedanta. And then we went together and we did that breathing together. It was January 2013. I think. And then for many reasons, because of our different work and dynamic and rhythm, we couldn't continue with Hellenic doing that. But guess what? I continued with Peter. So Hellenic introduced me to this center, make the connection, and then I continue working with Peter. And next Saturday, actually, we are starting the first breathwork coaching training in the island. Isn't that marvelous? So this is what I'm saying about the force of connection and the force of sisterhood and brotherhood, and what is family connection, and what's being a real colleague. We come to each other life, we make a connection, we move to another place, we keep dancing and spreading our bright light, and we don't have to be together all the time, but we do our duty to connect. And now we have a friend in common, Hellenic, Inge. I just was talking with Inge, and Inge and Roland coming to Cyprus soon, and then they're gonna be here with us, and then they are going to be with you. And isn't that marvelous? And our family grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So this is what I admire also about you and about me. And hopefully we'll do much more of many more things together. And I wish you the best. And
thank you so much. I think for me, you are the queen of that, Viola. You're the most generous, connecting person I know. And I always have believed that we rise by lifting others up higher. And it's definitely a quality to learn how to move past jealousy and fear and all of these qualities into something much higher, like to really be able to serve others. And it's good to be selective about how and when you share your energy and what it's really for, but to not be afraid to do that, because I think a lot of us would feel so much more love and support in the world if we had this, and we definitely need to develop it in the world now. I think we really need to be supporting each other much more. So I'm also so grateful that there is someone like you that has that skill, and then there's someone who's looking for it. So it makes complete sense that you should be living in your radiance and offering your gifts in that way, you know, if that's what's needed. So yeah. I'm really glad that worked out. And now Peter's coming to the conference as well, so we'll see him there too.
Yes, it's so marvelous. Well, thank you so much, Helen. I love you always, and I admire your work and your journey. And wherever you are in the world, if I have to tell you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, here's your host, Viola Edward, for your program, The Feminine Capital Rhythm. And thank you so much, Marina Nani, for creating this space for us. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.